Hold up, I am on my way, I'm in motion. Let's go to the ocean. Yeah, let's go outside. We can hang out on the beach without freezing.
Welcome to Crafty Beach. This is Julie. Today I have 20 spring Dollar Tree DIYs for you. Have a little bit of everything in today's video, and I hope I bring you lots of crafting inspiration. For this DIY, I wanted to make a spring fence sign complete with flowers using some of these little fence signs from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to combine two of these together with one of the long board signs, kind of the smaller version of that. So first I just need to remove the hangers here from the back. I do want this to be a hanging sign, but I don't need two sets of hangers because I'm going to have these little side by side to make a longer fence. So I am just taking those off on the back, using the Cricut weeder to get those little staples out there from the Dollar Tree and cleaning this up. I just want to do a white picket fence with this, and I want it to go all the way across like the background of the spring sign. So that looks pretty good. I've got those cleaned up. I do want them to be spaced out as well. So I'm going to have a little gap between them, and then I'm also going to put this little board side underneath of it like that so I can add some more things to the bottom. To space it out, I'm just going to use a popsicle stick. It's about the same width as the board that connects the little palette board sign together. And so I'm just going to use scissors to cut out a couple little pieces of that. To just use hot glue here on the back, and we can glue these together, making a longer fence sign. I want to use some of those wooden flowers from the Dollar Tree to do a really fun flower display, but I don't want to cover up the entire fence. That is why I'm adding the board side underneath of it. And there is room here under the brace where I can just glue this thinner sign on. I don't care that it has holes in it. That's all going to be covered up with my little faux garden. I want this fence just to look like a classic white picket fence. So just using a brush and some white acrylic paint, we are going to paint this. I'm not going to paint the sign below. I'm going to have it be like grassy and green. And so I guess you could paint it green, but I really couldn't see any of the original board through it. So I think it's good as is. As for the top, I did do a second coat of white just to make it really pop. And then I am going to make a new hanger here in the back, just taking some twine, knotting it, and using my staple gun. It's plenty thick here with the doubled up board here on the back of the sign. And I just do the same thing here on the other side, just making a new hanger for this project. I do want it to be a hanging little fence sign. These are the flowers that I'm going to use for the front of it. There are different kinds of these, as you can see, and I'm going to use different kinds, but for what I'm actually doing with it, I don't know if it really matters if you have different ones or not. I thought it would be fun to leave like the stem and the leaves on here and kind of replace the flower with a faux flower from the Dollar Tree. So for the leaves, I want them to be green. I'm just using acrylic leaf green paint, and I just went over them with one coat, and I do want them to have a little bit of lines and stemming and texture, so I just go over it with a paint pen. It's a little bright. I thought that the leafy green would mute it down a little bit. I do have to add some more details to that later. The first flower we're going to use is this one. It's pink with a yellow center. I wanted to do like a pink and yellow, maybe a little bit of a white theme for the flowers on this display, so I thought this would be perfect for the center. And then I can do one of the same thing on each side. If you had 3 different ones, that would be great. I just really think the colors need to kind of coordinate. Now, in case you can see any of the flower behind it, I just went ahead and painted all of them pink. You're really not going to be able to see anything, probably except for some of the very edges, but I wanted to make sure that you couldn't see just the raw wood back there. And then I just take the back off of the flower, cutting the stem off. I want it to be as flat as possible when I glue this to the wooden flower. And the stem and the flower are not connected at this point, but using hot glue, I just went ahead and attached it all together. Now, I really like this. I really like the colors. The only problem is I thought the flower was a little too big. It kind of overpowered the stem and the leaves. You couldn't really see them. So I'm just going to cut them down shorter. The petals, it was really easy to do. I just folded them in half and cut a curved pattern to give me that great shape that they had before. And this way, it's just going to make it a little bit smaller. The other flowers that I chose for the other two were the right scale. So this was the only one that I had to do this to, but I think it really made a difference to kind of scale that down a little bit. These are the flowers that I want to use for each side. These are like pink and yellow and kind of ivory color. I'm going to choose two of them that are about the same size. And just like before, I'm going to peel the back off of them. I don't normally do that because it does make the flower fall apart, but I needed these to be super flat. So I attach it with hot glue here, trying to make sure the center is kind of bunched up on these, and some extra hot glue to help keep the flower together. I think that one looks pretty good. I like the fact that the colors are the same, but the flowers look completely different for a little variety for this spring sign. And then I'm going to do the same thing here on the other side, take it apart, cut the stem off, and attach it with hot glue. I did think about using some of the leaves from the plants from the Dollar Tree to replace that part too, but that would really cover up everything that was on these little wooden flowers, and I don't want to do that. I just like that addition of the flowers, I think. So I'm just going to use hot glue and attach our center flower right here in the middle, gluing it to the fence, not really to that bottom sign part. And then do the left flower here. I'm going to line them up pretty even all the way across, and that way the fence can peek out above them and I still have room to decorate underneath. For the grass, I'm just using some reindeer moss from the Dollar Tree. You could also use that faux Easter grass they have right now at Dollar Tree Plus. That would be really cute too. And I kind of went back and forth about which one I should use. I'm not sure. I like it like this, but I think it would look really good with the grass as well. So just using one bunch at a time, I'm trying to make sure that it's not super thick. I don't want to waste any of the moss. I just want a thin coat all over to make it look like it's greenery. Not necessarily just moss, but just green and filling it up like it is in a garden. And I go around all of the flowers just like that. Now I want to make sure you don't see this bare sign here at the bottom. So I did use some smaller pieces and go in and make sure everything's covered there as well. I think it's looking really cute so far. I'm going to give it a quick trim. And I want to add a little bit more spring to the side. I know it's already got a lot, but I think we can add some more. The first thing I noticed, I didn't really like the green color of paint pen that I used for the lines. So I'm just using a little bit more of that leaf green paint, and acrylic and a baby wipe to kind of wipe off the excess to see if I could get a little bit of it to come through. But again, keeping that leafy texture and less of the Christmas green color. I was only so successful with that. I do have to add some more details. And then I wanted to add some little spring bugs to our garden. I have some of the red ladybugs, the wooden ladybugs from Dollar Tree, and I added one there to the fence. And I think I'll add another one maybe over here on a leaf. I want to add like ladybugs and bees and different things that you would see in spring. So this is the bee I'm going to use. It's one of the wired bees off of this little chime that I got at the Dollar Tree. It's great because it has the wire attached to it to make it look like the bee is flying. I just use a pair of pliers and take that off the little wind chime. It's a super cute little bee. And I can have that like maybe come out of the fence just like that. I wrap the wire around the back and just using my staple gun to attach it. It's the easiest way. And that looks pretty good. You can kind of mold it the way that you want it, have it flying out there like it's getting ready to land on a flower. Then for the base, I thought I would add a few more flowers, but this time some smaller flowers. So I picked up these little wildflowers from the Dollar Tree in pink and white, and they come apart pretty easily. You can just pull the flower off, and I'm just going to hot glue that and push it down into the reindeer moss. I noticed the pink stem was a little bit longer, so I did trim them a little bit before I glued them to make sure I could get them nice and close. And then these flowers are like white with a little yellow center, so I thought some of those would be really cute as well. And we're going to just glue some of those down into the moss as well. Now for the details on the green leaves. I already have everything put together, but I just used a green Sharpie and a little bit more lines here. It's a more neutral color, and I think this turned out pretty good. I did have this little ladybug in the way already. I just kind of took it off and put it back on. It has some double-sided tape on there. And then to make it not completely blend in to the green reindeer moss, I decided to go around the edges with my fine-tipped white paint pen and just do a very rugged, very tiny border just to help that pop the green against the green like that. I don't want it to all blend in. I want it to look like there's stems and leaves on each one of these flowers. Now I decided to move a few things around. I didn't really like the ladybug up on the fence, so I'm going to move it down here into the moss. And I thought I might have had too many flowers, so I'm just going to remove another flower on that side. And then I thought it'd be fun to have a little grass element too. This is from some of the greenery that we were using there, and it had a little sprig of onion grass on there. So I just cut off a couple, like 3 or 4 inches of it, and hot glue that down into the moss. For this second one, I'm going to have to kind of thin these a little bit. I just trimmed their edges, making them skinnier, so they'll be more similar to the grass on the other side because they get wider as they go down on these. And then again, cut off about the same amount of this grass. And I'm going to glue this down to the moss on this side. I thought it'd be fun to have at least a little bit of grass peeking out of the garden. And just another little fun detail, I think that this sign really screams spring. It's so bright and colorful. It's not super large. You can fit this just about anywhere. But isn't this so bright and cheerful for spring? I really love it. I love crafting with those little fence boards. You could always use the ones that aren't pointy at the ends, but the ones that are pointy are my favorite. But so many little fun details in here, especially with like the little ladybugs and stuff like that, which I haven't seen this year, so you might have to get those at Temu or on Amazon. Hey guys, I hope you're enjoying today's video. If you are, be sure to hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and I'd really appreciate it if you would hype today's video. I wanted to see if I could turn one of the Dollar Tree wood trays into a flower cart. I thought it would be a really fun challenge, and so I'm going to use one of the new wood easel kits from the Dollar Tree for extra wood. If you can't find these little kits, you could always use Jenga blocks or other craft wood. I really like them though. Now for the outside of my tray, I decided to take some of the medium size popsicle sticks. These are the ones from Walmart, and they're a little bit longer and wider than the ones from the Dollar Tree, and it will cover the entire side. I thought we could do like a slatted board on the side to give it just a little bit more texture and also cover the handles on the end. Now, this step is totally optional, and if I were to make it again, I don't know if I would include them because when I went to stain it, they did warp a little bit, being this thin wood, but not too bad. I just cut them down to size. I want them to be like 2 like that, where they're kind of staggered to make it look like a wood crate and to slightly be taller than the tray. This would also be a good option if you can only find the ones with like the star cutouts or the heart cutouts or something like that, and you don't want to be able to see the handles at all. But the regular handles really aren't that distracting. I just kind of wanted the textured surface of the wood. So I'm just cutting those down. I'm just using scissors and hot glue. I did the ends first, and then we will do the sides. And the reason, again, I use these larger ones from Walmart is because they were as long as the tray. I don't think Dollar Tree, I know Dollar Tree has a couple sizes of popsicle sticks. I get like the small and I guess the medium. But Walmart has like these large ones, and they also have jumbo ones which are really big, which are great for crafting. So whenever I do go to Walmart, I always try to pick those up. So I cut down enough for all 4 sides. What I was thinking is that this is going to be where the flowers are on my flower cart, and I can attach legs. That's where the easel kit comes in handy. Now there's 2 pieces that are slanted that go together to make the easel, and then there's 1 piece that's the easel stand, and they all seem to be about the same size wood. And I thought these would be coming handy for crafting, so I keep picking these up, these little easel kits from the Dollar Tree. I just kind of estimated how long I wanted my leg to be. I don't know. I didn't really measure it. It's maybe about 3 inches. And I'm going to cut out 2. I love using my miter scissors. I got these on Amazon. I think I have them listed in my Amazon shop in the description of today's video. I probably need to get some new blades though, because the Florida humidity out in my garage is rusting those, right? And then for the tires, I'm going to use some of the wood rings from the Dollar Tree. These are the little wood craft rings. I wasn't sure what size I would need, but I decided to go with this larger one for 2 wheels. Anything round is really going to work for a wheel. If you have any like wood circles made out of craft wood, I've even used like the little shape puzzles from the toy aisle at the Dollar Tree for circles, but I thought the wood rings would be perfect. So the front legs need to be shorter. So I kind of lined it all up there to see how long I would need those legs to be to center those on my little DIY wheels. Now, this is a fun crafting find. These are actually coffee stirrers. I ordered these from my coffee bar. You get like 1,000 of them from Amazon. So I have linked these in my Amazon shop as well as a crafting supplies because they came in really handy for these. As you can see, they're little teeny tiny pieces of wood. I'm going to cut out 3 for each one. The reason I wanted these instead of like skewers from the Dollar Tree is that they're flat. So I will be able to stack these on top of each other, and they're so thin that they're not going to interfere with my design. So I take my wood ring and I just glue it on both sides with just a tiny dot of hot glue, and then I glue another one on it, forming an X, and then a third one. Since they are so thin, you can almost mold them a little bit so they'll bend slightly and they'll stack perfectly to make a little wheel in it. I think it turned out really cute. It was really easy to do. And I had bought those coffee stirrers, and I don't really like them that much for coffee stirrers, but when I also had the other motive that they'd probably be a cool craft supply, and I think they are, so I'm definitely putting these in my crafting stash. I do the same thing here for a tire for the other side. And then now it's time to put our legs on our flower cart. I'm just going to attach them with hot glue. I just made sure to use my Gorilla Glue hot glue, let that set up. If you want it to be a little stronger, you could use wood glue if you wanted, but I was trying to get my flower cart made, so I used hot glue, and it seems strong enough. I did put extra hot glue on the inside there where you're not really going to be able to see it to reinforce it a little bit. And then these are the shorter legs. These are the ones I cut a little bit shorter for the wheels, and I glued those on the 4 corners. So I'm almost building like a table at this point. Now, if you wanted to put a shelf down here, like some flower carts have shelves down there, you totally could, and it might actually reinforce your project a little bit as far as the legs go. I'm not going to put a shelf down there though. I'm just going to go ahead and attach my tires. I was trying to figure out how to do this in a way that would level it out. So I'm using just an extra piece of wood just for a straight line here to try to figure out exactly where I want my tire to be. And I just glued my little DIY wheel to the little wood. I'm going to reinforce it with a little bit more hot glue here on the back. And then I'm going to glue the other one on the other side where everything will hopefully lay level. This is what it looks like so far. I think it's really coming along. It's starting to look like a flower cart, right? I got this idea by seeing the large ones that they sell, like the real life ones on Wayfair. And I was like, oh yeah, I want to make a miniature flower cart. I think that'd be really cool. So this is another piece of that easel kit. And I'm going to cut down 2 pieces to be the sides of my sign here. Like a lot of flower carts, there's a couple different styles. They can come up and have like a roof. They can come up and have a roof with a shelf up there, or they can just come up and have a sign. So I'm going to make mine have a sign. So I cut these down the same size, and I'm just gluing them on the inside of my wood tray there, one on each side, straight across from each other. And then another piece of that same easel kit for the top beam. And using this in combination with the miter scissors, huge fan for crafting. It made this really easy without having to go back and forth to my saw all the time. So I just attached that with hot glue there. And this is going to be my sign holder. So this is what my flower cart looks like so far. I did think it needed some handles to push it around. So kind of like wheelbarrow handles, right? Like you're just going to need little handles here. And so again, I'm using that same wood. And I'm going to cut 2 small handles here. And I really kind of like the square of this wood from the easel kit compared to like the wood dowels from the Dollar Tree, because square can really give you a different look on projects like this. I am going to attach that with hot glue to my top popsicle stick there. And my biggest challenge with this project was like letting my glue set up because I want everything to be as strong as possible. For the sign, you just need something wood. I'm going to use a Dollar Tree wood ruler. I think it makes a great sign. Nice and big and strong. You could also use a popsicle stick as well, but I kind of wanted the thicker wood. If you had like a paint stirrer, that would be pretty equivalent. I just cut mine down to size there on the saw to make a little sign. And then I'm going to spell out the word flowers. I'm going to use the galvanized metal letters from the Dollar Tree. Be careful when you buy these. You only get about half the alphabet, I guess, there. And I haven't been able to find the wood ones lately, but these are the perfect size for this scale project. So I'm going to spell out the word flowers. I went back and forth whether I was going to leave these galvanized metal or paint them. At first, I left them galvanized metal, so you'll get to see that, but I do go back and distress them with white just to make it a little bit easier to read. My house doesn't have the best lighting, so sometimes the metal's a little kind of hard to read, especially like on a stained wood. I just use as little hot glue as possible when putting these on so I don't get a lot of that seeping out, and they fit perfectly on this size project. So there's our little flower sign. As you can see, I'm attaching everything before I stain it or paint it or anything like that. It's just going to make the wood to wood hot gluing stronger. Then to stain it, I wanted my stain to be a lighter wood stain, and so I mixed some Antique Wax by Waverly with water to make a wash. This is what caused problems with my popsicle sticks. I think it was so watery that it bowed them a tiny bit. It's not super noticeable, and it actually makes it look more rustic because I am going to distress it and make it look rustic anyway. But keep that in mind if you're going to be using like a watery wash like I am. Sometimes on a project like this where there's so many different things to paint or stain, I find a wash is easier because as you can see, it just kind of soaks it in. You don't have to get it on there just perfectly or anything like that. But I went over everything, all the legs, the wheels, the bottom of the tray, and the sides of our sign. And I really love this project. I've created so many different things with wood, miniature projects like this. And I'm always looking for a challenge or a new idea of something to make. And I just think this turned out so fun. So I got everything stained, and now we can fill it up with flowers. I don't have a lot of room, so what I'm going to do is take the floral foam from the Dollar Tree, just cut it in half. So I have one piece that's pretty thin, and then trim that down to size as well, and just lay that right in there. I'm also going to glue that in place so that all the flowers kind of stay put in our little flower stand. To cover up the foam so you don't really see that, I just add some of the reindeer moss from the Dollar Tree into the tray. Not too much, but just a good layer, and this is what it looks like so far. For the flowers, I tried to choose smaller ones, so I have these in the white and the pink, and they come in little bunches, so I thought that would be perfect for flower sales, like a little bouquet. So I just pulled those off and put those down into the floral foam. And I was going with pink, whites, and purples on this one. So I also had them in the soft pink color, just kind of scattering those around, kind of random. And then the baby's breath from the Dollar Tree always works well because these are little tiny flowers. These you have to cut, and I found them in like pink and white. And I am also going to be adding some of this like summer filler. They have like these pink berries. I thought that would be just a fun little touch in there to make some of the flowers look a little bit more wild and add some more greenery in there as well. So first I did the berries, but I like the ferns and the greenery too. So I thought that would make it look a little bit more exotic with our flowers. And so I just cut those all apart and added those to the floral foam as well. And then I also have some of the lavender from the Dollar Tree to add a couple touches of purple. I thought that would be cute. So I just cut those with my wire cutter and add those as well. I want our flower cart to be really full with spring flowers. And this is such a fun idea. A little bit different take on a planter or a tier tray or something you would have sitting around. I think that's enough. I don't think I even need the white baby's breath. It is pretty full. So this is what it looks like so far with the silver letters and the stained wood, the lightly stained wood. But I am going to distress it. I do that with some white acrylic and a makeup sponge, and I'm just going to drag that across my metal letters to paint them in a distressed fashion, just because I thought it would make it a little bit easier to read, but I kind of liked the distressed look. I wanted this to look like an old flower cart. So I actually distressed all over, just using that makeup sponge, a baby wipe to blend off any of the excess, but This step is totally optional, whatever your preference is for finish. I was going for a very rustic and old looking flower cart, and I think it did add a lot of character to this project and made it look not so brand new. And this is how it turned out, our little flower cart. It's definitely one of my favorite spring DIYs. Isn't it so cute and whimsical? Whenever I can kind of build something like this from scratch, kind of my favorite things. And a flower cart is perfect, I think, for spring. I like the fact that it is stressed. It kind of made it look older. That's really fun. You can always do yours more fresh if you want. For the next DIY, I wanted to take a wood crate from the Dollar Tree and one of their house shaped shadow box signs like this. And this one fits in here almost perfectly into this size of wood bin. And I thought we could make a birdhouse flower box. This turned out so fun. The first thing I'm going to do is paint everything white again. I was gonna stain this, but I decided to do it white because I'm matching two different kinds of wood together. So I thought it would be more consistent to do this part of the piece in white. So I just went all over the frame of it. Originally, I thought about popping out the back of the frame, but this one was really well put together. So we're gonna leave it in and I'm gonna show you how I decorated it. I love how it turned out. I'm just going on the inside and the outside of the house-shaped frame. I don't really have to do the bottom because you're not gonna be able to see that. That's gonna be down inside the flower box. And I'm also going to go over the background there to kind of disguise that tie-dye. And then I'm gonna paint my flower box white as well. This will make it all blend in more together. When I was choosing this wood crate from the Dollar Tree, I made sure that the little house sign fit down inside there really almost perfectly. There's a little bit of a gap on each side, but I definitely wanted one that I could fit the house sign down into. I want to use that house shaped sign to be the birdhouse for this little planter. And this was a really fun DIY. I'm only going to paint the outside and the outer rim there on that one because you're not going to be able to see inside of it. Now to cover the back, I found this great spring bag from the Dollar Tree. It's just one of their shopping bags that they sell. And I'm going to cut out this cute little bluebird with the flowers on here. I thought this would be perfect for a birdhouse. And it's got a little bluebird on there. I love that. It's a tribute to my mother that passed away about 6 years ago. I can't believe it's been that long. After she passed away, she sent me bluebirds all the time. She still sends me bluebirds to say hello, I think, which I love. So I'm going to cut this down to size. It was a little bit hard because I had to cut on the inside here of the frame and I didn't really have a template or anything to go with. So I'm just going to cut one side at a time. Cutting the 3 bottom edges is pretty easy. But then you also have to kind of cut the roof line here. And I was trying not to cut too much off, but I was able to cut it a little bit larger than what I needed. And then I can just trim that down to size and put that on the back. The only thing I didn't like about the shopping bag is it's really glossy on the front. And so I'm going to have to tone that down a little bit to use it the way that I want here because I don't want it to be really shiny. The back is almost like a fabric texture on these bags. I think this is the first time I've crafted with one of these style bags from the Dollar Tree. But I love finding new uses for items like this from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to put a nice thick coat of Mod Podge here on the back of our birdhouse sign and then attach that sign right on top. Since it's so thick and durable, the material, I don't have to wait for that to dry or anything. I just smoothed it out with a dry paper towel to try to avoid any bubbling, make sure it's down really flat. And I'm using the matte Mod Podge from Dollar Tree, so it's going to take away some of that shininess, but it's really shiny. So it's going to take several coats of that to tone that down a little bit. I don't care if it's a tiny bit shiny, but I really didn't want it to be really glossy like it was originally. So I just went over that. I think I ended up doing at least 3 coats of the Mod Podge on there to tone that down. And I was really happy with that. I love the fact that there's a bird back there. You could really use anything. You could also use some of like the spring floral napkins, stuff like that from the Dollar Tree, or even some of their pretty tissue papers if you can't find this bag to decorate your little birdhouse in the back. And then I'm going to use some hot glue to glue my little birdhouse down into my planter box. And you can kind of see the structure of this coming together. I thought it'd be really cute with a roof though. So I got some craft wood from the Dollar Tree that's a little bit wider than the wood house frame. And I'm going to cut this down to size. I do want this to look like a roof, and so I'm actually going to use my miter saw to try to cut an angle so I can have the perfectly peaked roof and I won't have any gaps here at the top. So, I have a miter saw and I never use it for that function, so I actually had to go look at a YouTube video to figure out how to use it, right? But what I did is I cut it at a 30-degree angle, both pieces, and made them the same width. And I think that's going to work out perfectly. I'm glad that I actually challenged myself to do that. And then I am going to stain it with some antique wax by Waverly. This raw wood from the Dollar Tree stains really well. I didn't want it to be super dark though, so that's why I'm using a wet wipe after I put it on there just to thin it out, take it down a little bit, and I'm going to go over all of the different sides of a roof. I thought this would give it a little bit more of a rustic feel, break up all of the white that we have going on the birdhouse. And I can just glue them here at the top. And you know what? I cut the angle perfectly on these, so I was really happy with this. It's a perfectly peaked roof. I just attached that with hot glue here at the top. Now the fun part, time to fill it up with florals. Again, I'm going to use some Dollar Tree foam to fill up the box a little bit, just trimming these pieces down to size to make them work for this size of the wood bin. And I found some smaller flowers and little berries from the Dollar Tree that I think are going to work really well. And I just want to fill it up all over, so I'm just adding pieces wherever just to fill it up. And then I'm going to do some reindeer moss on the top of the foam to cover that up. So I can add all of those little spring florals in there. I want it to look like a little spring flower garden in front of our birdhouse in the little flower box. So these are the flowers that I chose. I was trying to find small ones. These are the pink baby's breath from the Dollar Tree. And these are called a summer filler, but I thought they're really pretty. They're like pink berries. And then I think these are really beautiful. A gypso is what they're called, little tiny bluish lavender flowers. And I'm just going to cut these down and make these work. Now, this is a pretty small planter, so even the baby's breath like this was a little too tall because I don't want to cover up that adorable bird. So I'm just going to cut this down to size. And you don't need any wire when it comes to this really soft floral foam from the Dollar Tree. You can just use the plastic like this to be able to put these down in here. And yes, I am still wearing sleeves. I am still covered head to toe in poison ivy. If you guys see my last video, you guys know I was landscaping and got into poison ivy, and I have it so bad. And so I did finally go to the doctor after a week of suffering and got on prednisone, and it is helping. I'm still having issues, but hopefully once I really get into the treatment, it's going to get a lot better because it was not getting any better. After a week, it was maybe getting worse. I'm even going to use the greenery here on the summer filler piece to fill in the little gaps. I think that looks really good. I'm not necessarily going to use the fern piece on here. I didn't think that really went with the vibe I was going, but I thought the greenery would be perfect to add to this. So I did the pink flowers, the greenery, and then the little blue flowers, super cute, just to mix up the colors a little bit and fill this all up. And I really love the combination of like the pink and the purple flowers. Sometimes trying to find these little tiny flowers like this from the Dollar Tree can be a challenge, but I always grab them when I see them. I'm going to add a little bit more greenery. And I was thinking this was a really fun take on a little birdhouse planter, especially like using the little print there from the bag on the back of it. It's really fun for a little shelf sitter, but you could also use this on a tier tray. It's not too big, but you can see how fun and colorful this is using the pink flowers in there with a little touches of purple. So a really fun way to use some staples like the little crate like that from the Dollar Tree and the little house shape sign. I want to DIY a basket wreath that I can hang on my door for spring, and I want it to look like a little basket. Now, Dollar Tree doesn't normally carry basket wreaths like this, so we're going to DIY one with one of these letter trays from the Dollar Tree. Now, I got this in with like the containers, trash baskets, and stuff like that. They have them in different colors. It doesn't really matter what color you get. You're just going to want something about this shape. You could probably even do it with a one like this that's plastic as well. What I'm doing is just using my wire cutters to cut this. They were all pretty thin except for the ones on the edges, but to cut it down to size And you can make your basket wreath however big you want it. I think that looks pretty good. I did, I guess, about 2/3 of it. And then I'm going to fill it up with some floral foam. This is the floral foam from the Dollar Tree. It's just a big chunky block, and I think I'm only going to need one if I attach it semi-close to the top here. So I'm just going to do a couple rows of hot glue here, and just everywhere where I can kind of get to the wire here to glue that on. It's not super easy to attach for this, but I think that will work. It's not completely flat on the back, and so some of it kind of digs in there, but that's okay because that'll help keep it in a place, right? Now, I probably should have measured this first because it is a little thicker than the basket itself, but that's okay. I'm just going to trim it down. And I'm just using one of those pool noodle cutters from the Dollar Tree to trim down my floral foam where it is now flat on the back where it should be. Now I'm going to actually make the basket. So I'm going to cover mine with some of the burlap roll from Dollar Tree. Now, you don't have to use this. If you have it, it would be great, but in the end, you're really not going to be able to see it. And then for the hanger for the basket wreath, I'm going to go ahead and attach it now, just using some twine and knotting it onto the top row there, because I'm going to be covering this with burlap, and then we're going to be covering it with moss to do a spring basket wreath. So I thought this was the easiest time to attach it. I just knot it on there, and then to prevent it from sliding forward, I'm going to secure it with just a dot of hot glue on each side. Now it's time to make the basket. I'm going to simply wrap this entire thing with the burlap roll. And again, you could probably use any ribbon or material you have. This thickness was about perfect though. And I just start here on one side and I just make sure it's hot glued really well there. And this is going to be the back of the top of the basket. I hot glue it to the other side, wrapping it around. I want a straight all the way across the top so it covers everything. All of the wire will be covered. And this is going to provide a great base for us to attach some moss. Now here in the back, I kind of slightly slant it down and then just keep wrapping it up, kind of like a mummy, I guess. Now that covers most of the basket, so I'm going to hot glue it here to the base of the basket there. And I have enough on here that I can actually cover up the bottom too, so one roll was perfect size for this. I just have to figure out how to make this work. I have enough here to cover that bottom section like that. And I'm going to just hot glue it to the wire basket to secure that in place. It is the perfect size. I didn't even have to cut it. And then I'm going to glue this down so it doesn't kind of gap out like that. And then I'm going to kind of wrap it like a present down here. Just kind of push the sides in like you're wrapping the end of a gift. And then I can bring the remaining burlap down. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect because you're not going to be able to see it. We're going to cover the front of it, the bottom, and the sides all with Dollar Tree moss, and then fill it up with some spring flowers. I think that looks pretty good for a DIY basket so far. And it seems pretty sturdy. I'm making this for my front door for spring, so I want it to be able to hold up outside. Now to cover it with moss, I'm going to start with reindeer moss, and that's going to be the majority of it. I love crafting with this reindeer moss from the Dollar Tree. I'm so glad that all my stores have been getting it back in. I just keep stocking up on it and using it in my DIYs. And I'm kind of going for a little bit of a spring forest feel on the front of this. So I'm going to add in another color of moss too, just for a little variety. But if you only have the reindeer moss, it would totally work. And I'm just working one section at a time. I kind of rip the reindeer moss to make sure it's thinner and not just a big clump of it. And I'm trying to go for maximum coverage. So I just started here at the base and I start hot gluing it, working my way up. Gonna flip it around here and finish off the front. Now this was a little time consuming, so we're gonna speed this way up. So I can cover this entire thing with moss. But isn't that so pretty? I love it. I go all the way to the edge of the burlap. Burlap is my favorite because you can see through the moss at all. I like the look of the burlap for the basket. And it provides a nice durable material for the back. So same thing here on the bottom. I just start hot gluing it one piece at a time. I try to keep them in clumps. I don't want it all individual pieces because it just makes hot gluing it even longer, but trying not to go for any bald spots there. And then I'm also going to do the sides as well. Basically any part of the basket that's going to be visible, but definitely not doing the back of it. So same thing, I just glue this here, trying to hide my burlap the best that I can with that moss. And I'm gonna go in with a little bit of the floral moss as well. It has a darker green color just for variety. And I like mixing my greens with moss. It's totally optional though. You'll have to see if you like that. Now I got this side done as well, and I think this is covered with moss. Just making sure I don't have any bald spots. Everything looks pretty good. If I have any, I can kind of just patch them like that without even adding any more. This is the darker green floral moss that I was talking about. I don't like crafting with it for this kind of thing very much because as you can see, they're like little individual pieces of floral moss, which just makes it more challenging to attach. As you can see, I'm only able to do a little bit at a time. Now I'm using my new hot glue gun. That is the Surebonder cordless hot glue gun that uses my Ryobi batteries that I used to use for my Ryobi hot glue gun. It's a lot cheaper than the Ryobi hot glue gun, and I'm really liking it. It's working pretty well for me. Battery lasts a long time. It keeps enough hot glue ready to go for me. I did add it to my Amazon shop, which is linked in the description of today's video. If you want to check it out, just remember you will need batteries and a charger. I think I have everything linked in there that I use, but I love it. It's my favorite hot glue gun. Now, as you can see, if I come up upon a piece of bark or a little stick in the moss too, I'm adding that to it too, just because of course I wanted that foresty feel for spring. And this is how it turned out. Now, time to add a few more fun items to it. These are some of the little mini mushrooms from the Easter aisle at Dollar Tree. I'm going to go for like a pink, purple, and white theme for the flowers for this. So I thought it would be perfect to use some pink and purple mushrooms. And these are just the right size. They have wires on them, so I can kind of push that down into the floral foam. Or any of the areas where it's below the floral foam, I can just leave it a little bit longer. And they were pretty long though. So even down here, I cut off probably an inch or so and just kind of push them in there and they will stay on. Aren't these so cute? I love these. I use these for spring and Easter crafting, but I also like to use them for like fairy gardens and stuff like that. They're so cute. And it's a lot easier than making these from scratch for sure. So just scattering some pink and purple around. And there it is. We have our little mossy basket wreath. I think it looks so fun. Now it's time for the flowers. But first I want to fill it with a little bit more floral moss. This is kind of some of the brown. They have different colors if you've ever bought this at Dollar Tree. And I thought the variation in color by using some of the brownish green would look good there for the top and cover up the foam. Now that we have the basket wreath complete, now we can add the flowers. I want it to be overflowing with spring flowers, and I'm going to be using different spring flowers from the Dollar Tree. So I'll show you each one I'm going to use. I picked out pinks and purples. This one's called the Pom Pom in Pink. These are some new spring florals that I got at Dollar Tree. And I'm going to cut them with my wire cutter and kind of add them individually. That way I can have a variety and they're not all together in bunches like this. So I'm going to start by spreading a couple of those, 3. And then we can add a little purple with some of the Dollar Tree lavender. So pretty. And as you can see, I'm not cutting them super tall. You really can't on a lot of these Dollar Tree florals when you cut them down. But since I put the foam so close to the top, they're definitely long enough. Now, I think these are new this year. They're boxwood. They had different colors. You could get them with pink. You could get them with purple. You could get them with just white. I think they're so pretty. And they have little like berries on them. And then I'm going to mix it up. I'm going to do some with like the pink and some with the lavender. And I like the addition of the greenery to it as well. These are some white flowers I also got from the Dollar Tree. I don't know what kind those were. They didn't have a tag on them. And I'm just going to kind of add those in there as well. I'm trying to alternate the color, but I don't want it to be super symmetrical. I want it to look just like a bunch of wildflowers. These are larkspur from the Dollar Tree. They're tall and pink. They have a cute little effect there at the end of the flower. So that's going to add a little bit of height. And I just keep adding flowers until I'm happy. Now for a little bit of greenery. This is the Dollar Tree, I say eucalyptus, kind of looks like the boxwood too, doesn't it? And I'm going to add that all over. I think it just said greenery on there. And then once I got that all in there, I decided just to add a little more where I needed a little bit of pink, where I needed a little bit of greenery and white. I just kind of scatter it around. Again, I want it to look like a basket wreath. So I want it to be overflowing with spring flowers. And I think it turned out so beautiful for spring. I can't wait to hang this on my front door. Well, Valentine's Day is over now, so I guess I can right now. And then it's just a few more flowers. I definitely wanted it full. And maybe a little bit more greenery over here. And I think that this DIY is complete. Isn't this so pretty? I love the mossy details. We have the mushrooms. We have all the beautiful flowers. And I kind of kept a color scheme there with the pinks and the purples for spring. And let me show you how it turned out. I think it's really gorgeous. I love all the different colors of green, pinks, and purples working together. The fun little touches like the moss on the basket and the mushrooms, I think is really whimsical and fun. You could use this for a wreath for your door. I'm actually using mine as a wall hanging in my dining area. For the next DIY, I'm going to do a spring pillow using one of their new placemats with that beautiful spring pattern and one of their spring napkins. Now, since this already has a back on it, I really only need one of the placemats. What I'm going to do is take a seam ripper along one side of the placemat and just simply rip out the stitching. Then we can stuff it. But even though I think the placemat is beautiful, it's a very plain for a pillow. So I'm going to show you how I'm going to add that happy spring onto the pillow using decoupage with a fabric Mod Podge. So this turned out really well. It was so easy to make. I'm going to go ahead and rip out the entire seam just to make this a little bit easier to work with and make it more consistent on this side, but leaving the other three sides sewn. And we have a little pillowcase right now. Originally, I was going to use some HTV and my Cricut to make a message for this, and you totally could. But then I would challenge myself to try to use something from the Dollar Tree, and I think these spring napkins are so cute. The flowers are a little bit different, but I think we can make this work. I just cut out one square where it says Happy Spring, and it is a 2-ply napkin, so I'm going to go ahead and separate that. Now, normally when I decoupage, I would just use some water and do ripped edges all the way around. But since I'm adding this to fabric, I really want this to blend in. So I'm going to take my time and I am going to cut out that entire napkin so I won't have any edges at all. I'm going to be attaching it with some fabric Mod Podge, so I just slide some cardboard in between just to make sure I don't glue it shut because we want to stuff it and make this a spring pillow. Again, I took my time. I cut around every single one of these leaves on the outside. And I left the white border and stuff, on the inside where the message is and stuff like that. But I thought this would be better than to have the edges on it. I've used fabric Mod Podge before and it works really well. Supposedly you can even wash clothing with the fabric Mod Podge. I don't know. I'd be a little afraid to try it, but I think that this is going to work. So I just, again, take my time. I'm going to speed this way up. And I cut around every single one of these leaves. And I'm glad that I did take the extra time to do this because you have no edges whatsoever. It blends in seamlessly. The napkin is so thin, you can even see the fibers of the fabric through it. So it worked really well. Almost done cutting out around every single leaf. Now I kind of messed up a little bit here with the Mod Podge. Normally when I use this fabric Mod Podge, it's the blue kind like this. I add some to the back of whatever I'm applying to the fabric, and then I add some to the fabric too. Very thin coats because it's a very thick Mod Podge. I don't know what I was thinking though, because I really shouldn't attach it to the napkin. It's just way too thin. I tried to do a little thin coat and it started distorting the napkin, and I had spent so much time cutting that out. I was like, oh no, I don't want to run it. So I'm not going to add any more to that. I'm just going to start adding some of the fabric Mod Podge to the placemats. That's how I would encourage you to do it. Don't add any to the napkin itself. It's just too thin. But I was able to make it work, thank goodness. I didn't want to cut that out again. I put it on there and I'm going to try to smooth this out, making sure my fingers are dry. I don't want to tear that very thin napkin. And I want to make sure all of these leaves around the little wreath here are down. And again, I had to work with mine a little bit because I distorted it a little bit by adding the glue to the napkin. Otherwise, it would go on there a little bit smoother than what I did. And I want to reinforce making sure everything is glued down. Now, the flowers are, a lot different than the flowers on the placemat itself, but I think they really all go well together. There's a butterfly on there and little wreath. It says happy spring, and I think it's the perfect amount of like a spring message and some decor for the center of this pillow. Again, when I'm working with the fabric Mod Podge, I try to do really thin coats, and I'm just drying with my heat gun in between. I know you're supposed to let it cure for a while in between coats, but it's pretty amazing stuff. It works really well. The difference you can tell is the consistency. It is really thick Mod Podge. And I'm wondering if you could do it with regular Mod Podge as well. You might be able to, but this is specifically designed for fabric. I think that looks pretty good. I think we're ready to stuff this pillow. I'm going to go ahead and remove my cardboard. Really, none of the glue seeped through. And I'm going to go ahead and glue half my pillow together here, just making a little pocket that I can stuff with some plush. I'm out of the Dollar Tree polyfill, so what I'm going to do is take an old bed pillow that needed to be replaced anyway, and I always like to recycle the little polyfill inside of these, and so I'm just going to start tearing that apart and stuffing this. It's pretty large pillow, the placemat itself, and usually when I've made placemat pillows before, I've picked up 2 placemats. This is such an easier way to do it and cheaper because you're using the fabric on the back. So really you're only buying one thing for $1.25, the placemat, and then I bought the napkins as well, but I only used one of them. Now that I have it stuffed, I'm going to go ahead and glue the rest of the seam. You really can't tell that this side is not sewn like the others are. I just make sure to glue it nice and straight here where I don't have any of the green fabric peeking out from behind, and that it's all sealed and no polyfill is hanging out. And there it is, our little happy spring pillow. I think it turned out really pretty. What do you guys think? And if I'm going to do a pillow, it's definitely going to be a no-sew pillow. I do not like sewing. And using the placemats from the Dollar Tree can be a really easy way to do a little seasonal pillow, especially like one that you're not really going to be using a lot. Like I'm using mine in my hall tree here in my entryway, and it works perfect for that. Okay, for the next DIY, we're going to use one of these little flower hooks. I think they're kind of new at my Dollar Tree. And one of these ornate frames. I think these are kind of new too. They have just like a black cardboard in them, which is kind of weird, but it's a really cool frame. It is made out of plastic. I wanted to paint it ivory. I think that's going to look really pretty for spring. And I want a little bit of a farmhouse vibe, so we're going to be distressing this as well. I don't want to get perfect coverage on this because if you leave a little bit of the gold showing through, it adds another layer of distress to it. But you're definitely going to need a brush to get down in all of the detail. But I think it's a really pretty frame to craft with. When I first saw it, I was like, not my style. And then I looked at the actual frame itself and I'm like, oh, that could actually be really pretty if you painted it. And it really is. So that's what it looks like after one coat of ivory paint. I do touch it up a little bit because I had a little bit too much gold showing through. I want a little bit, but not too much. So I touch it up a little bit and then I'm going to go in and distress it even further because I really want to bring out the detail and all of that ornate texture there at the top. So I'm going to use some antique wax by Waverly and just kind of drag it over all of that texture and slightly distress the frame as well. I don't want it to be too dark though, so I'm going to follow that up with a baby wipe so you still get that ivory color showing through, but just a little bit of distressing all the way around the frame. And isn't that so pretty for something from the Dollar Tree? I love it. It looks like something that you would find in the thrift store, like an older frame. If you get it too dark in any spots, you can always go back with your original color and touch up those spots, but I think it did a good job of bringing out a lot of details on it. Now, this is the flower. I think these come in different colors. They are a hook, but it's really easy. All you got to do is use a screwdriver and you can take the hook off. One thing I did notice though is that it kind of falls apart on you. So you do have to save the screws so that you can put it back together. But I thought I would take advantage of it because it's going to make it easier to paint. I wanted to do like a salmon color flower, this really beautiful color of pink. And so I'm just going to go all over it with that. And this is actually way easier to paint in two pieces like this. So I'm just going to go with it. I do one coat. It paints really well. It is plastic, so you're not going to be able to wipe it with like the baby wipe or anything like that because it will take off the paint. But I'll show you how I kind of distress this to make it look really pretty. So I just make sure I get in all those areas in the front. And then to distress it, I'm just kind of working my way out like this, like a flower would be. And I'm just using that ivory paint. Go back in with your original color if you get too much anywhere. And I'm going to do that for both parts of the flower. And I really love this flower. I think it's really pretty. So if you see one of these, definitely pick it up. So pretty. I distress the edges a little bit more on this one, just so it's a little bit more uniform. And we can start putting this together. Now there is like a little dot in there that pokes out where you can kind of line it up so you know exactly where your screws need to go. So I'm going to go ahead and screw this back on. You're not really going to be able to see the back of this flower, but I didn't really like how it looked back here. So I decided to kind of use my paint that I still had on my paintbrush just to kind of paint the petals back there, just in case you can see the back of it. And I'm going to display it against some of the spring burlap fabric. This is the Dollar Tree burlap fabric with like that turquoise color polka dot. And I'm going to cover the little piece of cardboard that was in there, the black piece of cardboard. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut a piece out. Luckily, I didn't have to iron it because they do kind of fold that up. I can just cut out a little slice here from the side. Now, I didn't like the fact that it was black though, because I felt like you could really see that through the holes in the burlap. So I'm going to paint mine ivory. It's kind of a finished cardboard, so it was actually not very easy to paint. I think I had to do at least 3 coats of paint, and I don't really care if I get great coverage. I just want it to be brighter so that it will show through white instead of black through the fabric. But it really did not want to be painted, which is why it like required so many coats of paint. But once I get that painted, I'm just going to go ahead and Mod Podge the burlap on there. I cut it a little bit larger than I needed, and then I can just go ahead and cut the excess material off, and I won't have to worry about any fraying because all the areas I want will be Mod Podge down. And Mod Podge is great with burlap to prevent any fraying. I'm just going to go ahead and smooth this out. It dried pretty well. I kind of wiped it with a paper towel and then flipped it over and cut off the excess material. I do want a clean cut along the edge so it will fit back into the frame. And I think this is going to be a really cute background for this flower. I love mixing the blue in with the spring. I just think it's so pretty. Now this only fits one way in. You want the little carved out pieces to be there on the bottom with the corners around it. And then I'm going to pop the back on this and put this back together. You can hang it or it's got a stand on there. I'm going to use the stand. I think that'll look really pretty for a spring DIY. And we're going to display the flower on there just like that. So I do some hot glue here, kind of the lowest portion that's going to make some contact with the burlap and the cardboard back there. And just glue it in the middle, making sure I press it down so it gets good contact. And this is how it turned out. I think it's really pretty and whimsical for spring. I love the colors and I really love that frame. Isn't that so pretty? Now, Dollar Tree has like different flowers every year. I've noticed they've brought back the metal flowers again this year. You could totally do this project with that one too. Or if you can find one of the plastic flowers like this was a really fun craft. It's bright and colorful and it was so easy to put together, but I love the flower painted like that. Now for this DIY, I wanted to make a garden toolbox. So I'm going to use 2 of the little breadboards from the Dollar Tree. These are the chunky wood signs that they have from the Dollar Tree. And just remove the tags on those. For the bottom and the sides, I'm going to use the little rectangular wood planks like this from the Crafter Square at Dollar Tree. 3 of those should be fine. And then for the handle of the little garden toolbox, I'm just going to use a dowel. So I tried to find the biggest ones I could find from the Dollar Tree, which is the 2-pack. And we can put this all together. Now I do want to stain this. I want to bring out that wood grain and make my wood match a little bit better than it does now. So again, I'm going to use Antique Wax by Waverly with some water and make a very light stain to go over all of this. I thought that would provide a little bit more warmth to it, but again, I don't want to make it too dark since it is for spring. And I want to fill this up with like flower pots from the Dollar Tree. I found some really great pastel colored garden tools from Dollar General for only $1. And I thought this would be a really cute little fun idea for spring. So what I did was just stain the front and the back of the little breadboards and the sides. We're going to do the same thing here with both sides of our little wood planks. These don't take the stain quite as well as the chunkier wood, but it's close enough that it should all go well together. I just put it on there, letting it soak in a little bit, and then drying it off with a dry paper towel. And I do that on both sides. I am also going to need to stain the wood dowel, but I also need to measure that to see how big I need it to be. So I want to go ahead and start putting this together first. I'm going to add the bottom first. I just add hot glue on the bottom of my little wood breadboard on both sides and just sit that on the wood plank, lining it up with the edge. Now I can see how big of a handle I need for this little toolbox. And I'm just going to take this dowel to my saw and cut this down to size. I always seem to cut them a little bit short, but we're going to make it work. And I also do need to stain this. So I'm going to use a little bit of that stain mixed with water to add to this dowel. And then I'm going to attach this with hot glue. You can also screw this in or nail this in from the sides, but it's a pretty small little tool caddy. So I think that the hot glue is going to be plenty strong. Once I get that on there, I can add the sides. As you can see, this pretty much fills up the entire side of the little toolbox. And it's okay if there's a little bit of opening here at the bottom. It actually kind of adds to the look. I just attach that with hot glue on both sides and flip it over and add this to the other side. I kind of like that knotty wood look. I'm going to make sure that that is on the front of my toolbox. Now it's pretty much constructed. Now I want to decorate it a little bit. So I thought it'd be fun to add some burlap. I'm using the burlap roll from the Dollar Tree. It's a perfect width for this. And I'm going to cut out a piece for the front and the back to cover this, just to add a little bit of fun. I think burlap kind of goes with the garden vibe. And I thought that texture would be really cute on there. So I just attach it with Mod Podge and I flip it over, cut another piece of the burlap ribbon and glue this on as well. I do want to add a word as well to this. I think that would be really cute to our little tool caddy, something to make it look like a garden tool caddy. And so I took some Dollar Tree wood letters and I picked out the word grow. I'm going to attach these to some double-sided tape and paint these. I have a pink and purple for the little shovel and the rake. So I thought another fun spring color would be green. I'm using like this key lime color of acrylic paint and a makeup sponge and just going over my wood letters. I think that's going to be perfect. It'll fill this up nicely. And I love different things with words on them like this. I think it's really fun. And you could do any kind of word. If you made a little bit longer of a toolbox, you could add a longer word like bloom or something like this. But I think 4 letters is all this one's going to fit. I just attached them with hot glue to the burlap. And we have our toolbox. And now we can start decorating it. This is my inspiration piece, the little tools from the Dollar Tree, the little garden tools. I thought these were so cute, the little pink shovel and the purple rake. I also picked up some terracotta pots from the Dollar Tree. These are the smaller ones that come in a 3-pack, and I think we'll use all of them on this DIY. I'm going to use a little Spanish moss to fill up one of the pots so I can kind of do a stacked pot look like that. I think that looks cute. And then I'm also going to put some Spanish moss here in the other pot and add the little garden tools. I was trying to decide how they were going to fit in here better. They're a little large for the pot, but I think we can make it work if we kind of wedge them in there with a little bit of the Spanish moss for filler. Then I wanted a little green in there too. So I'm going to bring some reindeer moss in too. I can have some of that in one of my empty flower pots and maybe some here in the corner of the pot as well. And then I decided I thought you couldn't really see these pots well enough on the left. So I added a little bit of Spanish moss just to raise everything up so you could see the stacked pots a little bit better. I like that look. I think that looks pretty cool. And then I just added a little bit more Spanish moss here and there just until everything kind of set the way that I wanted it to and it's not going to fall over anymore. Just kind of filling that in as a filler. And here it is, our little garden toolbox for spring. I've made toolboxes for spring before with tulips in them. This was kind of a smaller version, and I think it turned out really cute. I like the idea of using the little garden tools in there, the flower pots, kind of making it look randomly put together like that. And you can even make it a sign like that and add a fun word to it. Here it is, our little grow toolbox for spring. Okay, the next DIYs are going to be pretty easy. Check out these ceramic tiles that I found at the Crafter Square. They already have the cork on them. They're perfect coasters. I found them in square and circle shapes, and I thought these were great for crafting because they're blank. Isn't that cool? They're just like the ones that you find in the kitchen section, which you can use as well. We're going to be using cardstock and two free printables that I designed for these two coasters. And this is what they are. I designed a watercolor of a spring market and like a little spring bridge over a stream. I thought these look really well together and would be great spring coasters. I always love having seasonal coasters. So I printed mine out on cardstock, and I will include a link to the free printable for both of these. I sized them 4 inches by 4 inches, and it ended up being the perfect size. I sketched it out the first time, but it was not necessary and kind of got in the way. So if you print them out 100%, you should be able to get the perfect size for this. There's our little flower market and our flowers around a bridge. I think these images are so pretty. And so, yeah, definitely I will include a link to these. I think they would work for the circular coasters as well, if that's all that you can find or if that's what you prefer. And then I put a coat of Mod Podge on my coaster. Again, if you're just reusing the ones from the kitchen aisle, I think they're the same size. You would totally be able to get away with it if you print out on cardstock because you're not going to be able to see through this. I use Mod Podge on both and lay my paper right on top. The reason I print on cardstock is it doesn't wrinkle when you Mod Podge. You can start the drying process, which is what I did, but you really don't have to wait, and I love that. And I think it makes it more durable. I went over the top of it with more Mod Podge, and I'm just using a stencil dauber sponge from the Dollar Tree. It gives it this really great texture, and I don't get any brush strokes. Once I got that on there and dried, I just sanded the edges to make sure I didn't have any paper coming over the edges, especially the corners on these are slightly rounded, so that was very helpful for that part. And so when I continued to seal these, because I want them to be sealed really well because they are coasters, they're going to get wet, I don't have to worry about any of the paper coming over the sides. And I go over them, I think I went over them 3 times with the regular Mod Podge. And then I went over them with the dishwasher safe Mod Podge. I actually found this at Dollar Tree and it makes them dishwasher safe, so waterproof. So I thought that would be even better for the top coat. And again, using the stencil dauber, you can kind of see that really cool texture and going together with the watercolor theme of these two spring coaster DIYs were just so much fun to make and so easy. And I always love having seasonal coasters. They're so fun to bring out every year. I just made Easter ones in my engraving video for Easter, and they are really fun as well. But I will include the free printables for these in the description of today's video. If you would like to recreate, I have been finding the little coasters like this at the Dollar Tree in the square and the round all of the time anymore. The next DIY is super easy. I really like this idea and I like the simplicity of it, but we're going to start with one of these vases from the Dollar Tree, and I wanted it to be like a blue vase for spring, but I kind of wanted that glossy exterior on the outside, so we're going to try painting it on the inside. Now I'm going to mix together turquoise and white to get that same light turquoise color that we've been using, but I'm also going to mix in water to make it thinner because I want to be able to spread it around. And I've painted stuff like glasses and stuff like that from the inside as well, but I've never done anything this big. Like this vase is pretty big. So I thought I mixed up enough paint. I was a little shy, but we're going to make it work. So I'm just kind of scooping all of that paint into the bottom of the vase. and then just swirling it around the inside. I got to like that spot and I'm like, I don't think I'm gonna have enough paint. And it was kind of a custom shade that I had mixed up together. So I was like, okay, let's see what I can scoop out from here. And that's what I do. Try to get as much paint in there as I can. And you want to put something underneath of it for the paint to come out on. As you can see, I got pretty good, all like but one little section here. So I'm just using a paintbrush and trying to go in and give a pretty even coat to the missing section. Now, this is the part that requires a little patience because then you've got to let it dry. I want it to be that solid turquoise color, so I'm going to sit it aside on some paper towels to let it dry. And I actually just went on and did another project and came back to it so that it would be good and dry and we could work with it. So I just set it on paper towels like that, kind of let it drip out. I'm going to clean up any paint that came on the outside of it. And this worked pretty well. I really love that color. I think it's so pretty. What I want to do is to do a floral arrangement with this with butterflies. I thought that would be so pretty for spring. So I'm just making sure it's completely dry by using a little heat in there too, because you don't want to mess it up at this point. Now these are the flowers we're going to use, the baby breath from the Dollar Tree. It's a real tiny white baby breath, and we're going to use all of these because this is a pretty big vase and I want it to be rather full. I find that baby breath kind of like sticks together, as you can see there. So I'm just kind of separating it out. Prepare for a little bit of a mess with this stuff because it does like kind of fall off that like flocking that's on there when you're working with it. And you know, I thought I had 3 of these, but I actually had 4. But I'm going to go ahead and use all 4 because it's going to make it really nice and full. I want to put the little butterflies on there. And as you can see, I have some onion grass there with some pink butterflies, and I thought that would be perfect. Make it look like they are landing on the baby's breath. So this is what we've got so far. Our beautiful vase that we DIY'd, full of white baby's breath. And I really like the simplicity and colors on this because we're just going to use that turquoise, the white, and the pink. So this little plant has 4 little butterflies on there. They're so cute. And they're on like little flower stems. I'll just save the onion grass, I'm sure, for a Easter project. I use that a lot for Easter. So I'm just going to put some glue on the end of like the flower and kind of just glue that down into place on the baby's breath. Like little butterflies have landed on it. So pretty. And I was trying to find butterflies to use. They have like butterfly stickers and different things like that. But most of the things I could find at the Dollar Tree didn't have like colored bottoms. They were all kind of plain. And I thought they would look kind of fake in this kind of application. But these worked out perfectly. And they have these in all different colors too. And let me show you how this vase turned out. I think it's so beautiful for spring. The baby's breath, the butterflies at the top, and then the gorgeous blue vase. Painting it like that is a really fun little trick, little Dollar Tree hack that you can use on the glass. I think it makes it look so much more high end. It looks glossy with the glass on the outside of it like that. And this is definitely a fan favorite here on my channel. Everybody seems to love this vase. Now I wanted to make a tier tray. I have one of these little seagrass like tier trays from the dollar spot at Target. Super little, but I thought we could decorate it with some fun spring garden supplies. So I got these little garden gloves at the Dollar Tree, and they're just perfect. They're that beautiful like aqua blue color. They have like the pink flowers all over. And I'm just going to like kind of leave them together like that. Just take the package off and lay them on my little tier tray. This is just a little tiny tier tray, but it's super fun to decorate with some fun spring DIYs. Next up is a little frog that I got at the Dollar Tree. He's super cute. And I thought we could decorate him up a little bit. He's something that you might find in a spring garden, but I want him to look like he's like poking his little head out of a flower. Now, I didn't have any more of those like salmon color flowers, but I did have some of these pink roses left over from Valentine's Day. So I thought we could make it work. So I'm just going to take that apart using some of the big petals. We're just going to start hot gluing those around the little frog face. I thought this would be a really fun way to bring in a flower to the tier tray and a frog because he's super cute. They have these in all different positions, like laying on their backs. This one looks like he's like getting ready to hop. But I'm just gluing each petal around, and you could do this with any flower you've got. Maybe a little petal would look even better. And I'm just going to keep going around until his face is completely like surrounded by flower petals. And it is a little bit pinker than I was going with, and you will see that I am going to update the color a little bit. But for now, this is our little frog peeking out of a flower, which I think is really sweet. So he's ready to go. He is rather bigger though, so he is going to have to go on the bottom. I think next to the gardening gloves. Super cute, super springy. I love him. And then I don't have very much room left on the bottom, but I thought we could throw another flower in there. And I have some of these like aqua colored flowers from Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to pull one off and use that to fill in. I tried to put it back together, but I'm just going to kind of put them in there separately. And the bottom tier of that tier tray is ready to go. And now we just need to decorate the top. I found this great little house at the fairy garden section at Dollar Tree. It's got pink flowers on top, and it's actually painted really nicely. So we're just going to kind of stand that one up here in the back of that tiered tray. And I have room for maybe a couple more things. I found that this little garden pick from the Dollar Tree, and I love it. It's a little metal watering can. It's so cute. And it's on a little stake, but I thought we could just wiggle that and pop it off, and it was super easy, as you can see. Isn't that adorable? I love it, the metal like that, so I'm just going to leave it as is, and it's the perfect size for the top of my tier tray here. Now I do have like just a little bit of room left there, but I thought we could decorate it a little bit. So I'm going to use just some of this reindeer moss from the Dollar Tree, kind of fill in that shelf, and any like open areas, I can just kind of use that as filler. That looks really springy. Totally kind of goes with the garden vibe. And I'm going to put a little bit on the bottom as well, just to fill that in. And then I do still have that little bit of space there. And I found the cutest little wood flower pots at the Dollar Tree in the garden section. How cute are these? I thought about painting them, but I thought they kind of looked really cute wood. So I'm just going to toss a couple of them in there. I'm going to use the two smaller ones and just kind of throw them about like pots that haven't been quite used yet. And that's it. Easy peasy, just a tiny little tier tray with some more spring DIYs and finds. And I think this is going to go nicely with everything else that we've made today. Now, I told you I was going to update the color of the frog. I decided I wanted to be more of that salmon color, and so I just actually distressed the leaves with my color I was using, and that helped tie it in together. Let me show you how this tiny little tier tray turned out. I put this in my entryway on the table, like right next to my front door. It's super whimsical for spring. My favorite thing has got to be that little frog peeking out of a flower. How adorable is that? The garden gloves are such a fun thing, and you can actually use those as well when you're done with them. I'm going to use one of these like little spring wall hangings from the Dollar Tree, a Dollar Tree wood round, and some of that contact paper from the Dollar Tree to kind of make a little spring sign. I thought we could cover the wood round with that contact paper from the Dollar Tree. I don't work with that a lot because I usually can't find like a style I like, but this one was like kind of a mint green with a white flower pattern on it. And I thought that kind of looked coastal and pretty for spring, and the colors are perfect. Very muted. Kind of a pastel mint green. So I'm going to cut out a piece of that contact paper and simply peel and stick on the wood round. And then I am using a sanding block to go around and give me a perfect cut. This contact paper from the Dollar Tree was very thin and pretty easy to cut with a sanding block. And that way you get a perfect cut. You don't have to worry about any of the wood showing through. And look at that beautiful background and very minimal effort. No painting involved. I just poke the holes back through it. And then I got to distress it a little bit. So I guess there is a little painting involved. I just do ivory working in one direction, giving me a little bit of a coastal vibe. Then I thought we could use that hanging sign I got from the Dollar Tree. These are really cute if you take them apart like this. Just pull the staples out of the back. You can kind of build your own thing. They have some really cute styles. And then you can get like a sign with words on it. This one's got like flowers as well. Live life in full bloom. The colors are nice and muted. I like kind of the mint green sign. Just kind of trying to alternate the colors. There's two yellow flowers, so I kind of alternate them across from each other to make it look a little bit more symmetrical. And then we're just going to start hot gluing these to our wood round. Super easy, and you don't even have to break out your Cricut. So I'm just going to go ahead and secure them all. I'm going to go ahead and use all these pieces. And this is a really easy little spring sign to put together. And I bet everyone's ready for spring. I am lucky enough to live in Florida, so our weather is already beautiful. But I remember we used to live in the Midwest in Missouri. We also used to live in Philadelphia, so I know about the winter and looking forward to spring for sure. Now, to kind of break it up, I decided to distress all of those with the ivory as well, just to kind of make it look a little bit less like paper and a little bit more handcrafted, wiping off the excess with a baby wipe. I always stack up on baby wipes, sometimes from the Dollar Tree, sometimes from like Target has a really nice generic one. We can get a really large bag of them and they work great for crafting. Now I thought I would replace the hanger with a wood bead using some of this wood bead garland from the Dollar Tree. This is the raw wood ones, but they have colored ones now as well. I'm really digging all of the wood beads they have at Dollar Tree. I used to have to order these on Amazon. So I am just cutting that down. You kind of have to remove the end one to be able to get the wood bead to move on those because they're kind of strung through, and then just tying that on the sign with the existing string that was already in there. And how easy was that? So fun, right? Now, this is me just wanting to add a little bit of a fun touch. I'm taking some of this burlap ribbon and I am just going to cut some little circles for the center of my flowers just because I thought it needed just a little bit more texture, and it's going to kind of give me that coastal vibe as well. And I just attach all 3 of my little burlap circles with hot glue. Then I was super happy with it. And this is our super easy little spring sign. I think it's really cute and very unique. I've never done anything like this on my channel, but I like it. It's kind of a different take on spring, right? The colors are very unique. And, a lot of times there's spring signs like this. There's not a lot to choose from, but you can find some that have like little pieces like this that are hanging or dangling, and you can put them together and make kind of your own thing, which is what I did on this spring wood round. Okay, our first bird DIY. We're going to do a bird in a bird cage. And I found the cutest little bird cage at the Target dollar spot. It's like white iron. It has like a wood base and it is perfect. You could try DIYing your own. I've seen some ideas with like the football wreath forms or the trash baskets, but for $5 at the Target dollar spot, I would highly recommend just buying this because look how cute it is. Now, what I want to DIY though is a bird to go inside of it. Now, the only bird I could find this size at Dollar Tree was this ugly little bird cat toy. So we're going to DIY this and make this super cute. A cute little bird to go inside the birdhouse. Now, this has like a funny little tail on it. And so that's the first thing we're going to do is just snip that off to get it out of the way. I basically just want the plush bird form. And I'm going to cover this with burlap. So I think the wings might get in the way. So we're just going to go ahead and snip those off as well. And we are just going to cover this whole thing. It is blue and you're going to kind of be able to see through the burlap a little bit, but that's okay. Blue's kind of my theme today. So this is just a scrap of Dollar Tree burlap that I had left over from my Easter video. I had a lot of comments worried I was wasting my scrap burlap, but I always use my scraps, people. Come on. Okay, so what I want to do is have enough burlap to go over my both sides of my bird, kind of like sandwich it in there. So I cut down a piece that's enough to like cover the whole thing. And then what I'm going to do is go with my hot glue. And I'm going to go all the way around the bird, kind of sketching out the shape of the bird, but kind of on the outside of it. So I have enough room to glue the burlap to itself all along the edges of the bird to keep that cute little bird shape, which is really what I wanted. I was having trouble finding a bird this size for sure at the Dollar Tree. Their selection's not great when it comes to birds. But see what I did? I just glued that all the way around that. So now that I glued it and it dried, I can just use my scissors and cut the glued part all the way around into the shape of a little bird. Now, I didn't have it quite glued all the way, so I am going to just glue that section down right there and just kind of trim it up a little bit. And you can kind of tell it's still a bird, but it'll look like a bird when we're done with it. Now, these are new at the Dollar Tree. They're burlap leaves. They also have burlap flowers that I'm going to be using later on in another DIY. But look how cute these are. They are like white and brown burlap. There's like two different sizes and they're little leaves. But I thought they'd make really cute feathers for our little DIY bird. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to use like, I think both colors. They're kind of sealed, and so they don't fray or anything like that. You know, they're kind of cut out perfectly. So that is going to be great for this project. So let's start putting this cute little bird together. This was one of my favorite projects today, for sure. I'm going to go ahead and just start gluing some tail feathers on both sides of our bird. The little brown ones, and then some of the white burlap leaves. And I think I'm going to do like 3 on each side, just kind of flaring them out, kind of alternating colors too. Now for the wings, I'm also going to use the little leaves. I'm going to use 2 on each side, like a white one and a brown one. Isn't that cute? It's starting to look like a bird a little bit. And then I'm going to go ahead and do it on the other side too. I want like a 3-dimensional bird that can be in our little bird cage. Okay, it's looking pretty cute. It's got a nice bird shape. It does need eyes though. So I thought I would use some Dollar Tree buttons for some eyes. So I'm just trying to find like some black ones that are about the same size. And just going to glue one of those on each side of my bird to make some cute little eyes. Super easy. I'm just kind of doing the flat side up. And those are pretty similar. Okay, so our bird has wings, it has feathers. I kind of want a beak shape here, and so I'm just going to cut that into a tip, the little part that was glued, so it looks like the bird now has a little beak there. Just going to clean up any of the hot glue on the burlap with my heat gun. The heat gun kind of like either it'll melt the glue or make it where it's easy to remove, so you can clean that all up. And it's looking really cute. I do want to add like a little bit more detail to the beak though. So I'm just going to take like an orange Sharpie, works great on burlap, and just kind of color that in on both sides to give a little orange beak. And now I kind of want to do like a nest on the bottom of our bird cage. I thought that'd be cute. And Dollar Tree has been getting some different like floral moss. This one is like brown. And I thought this would be great. The only thing is it was really dry and kind of messy. So I'll show you how I kind of overcome that issue. I'm just going to kind of measure out enough that's going to cover like the base of the bird cage and then kind of put it off to the side. You can tell by looking at the tray how crazy messy that stuff is. And so once I get like a little, floral moss, I guess, patty, I'm going to take some of that spray adhesive from the Dollar Tree and spray it down pretty good. Go over it with my heat gun and dry it. It didn't melt like some of the things I've seen with heat at Dollar Tree. And then I'm just going to do that a couple of times till it kind of sticks together a little bit and makes it just a little bit less messy. I'm just going to scoop that up and lift that back onto my bird cage, and that looks way better. Now they also have this green lycopodium, I guess it's called. I thought it was really pretty too. So I thought we'd do a combination of like a brown and a green nest just to give a little bit more color. Kind of sitting this one on top, just kind of making a little ring for our little burlap bird to sit in. It's kind of cool. I've never really DIY'd with that before. And it's a perfect little nest for our bird. I'm just going to put some hot glue down on the moss so that my bird stays in place and glue him down to his cute little nest. Now my bird is a tiny bit bigger than my bird cage, but it works because, there's holes in the side. So he's going to be like just poking out a little bit. And so I think that looks pretty good. Let me give you a little close up of this cute little bird. I love him. Isn't he adorable? And then all I got to do is put the top of the bird cage on. And our first bird DIY is complete. I love the bird cage. It's so cute. And I always love like decorating with birds for spring. I've also done spring chickens on my channel before too. But here it is, our little burlap bird. Can you believe that that started out as a pet toy? I think it looks so cool, and it's a fun way to use those little burlap leaves too, which my store recently clearanced off, so I was able to stock up on a lot of them. But the cage is super cute too. I picked up some of this leaf wallpaper. I've never used this before at Dollar Tree. And then I also got some of these pink flower floral tiles. I actually got these at Target Dollar Spot. They were $5 for both of them. Honestly, when I bought them, I thought they were $3 for both of them because that is a little bit pricey, but they are pretty. I think the price on these have definitely went up because I know I've bought those for like $3 before, like a similar one. And then I picked up two pieces of craft wood from the Dollar Tree. I love this size because it works great to make like a larger sign. You can put them together. It's nice and thick. It's not bowed or anything like that. The only thing is it's a little rough sometimes, so I'm just going to give it a quick sand on some of the uneven edges. And then I'm just going to simply glue those together to make a square sign that we can kind of put all these pieces together. What I wanted to do was have like the leaf background with like a pink floral monogram. I thought that'd be kind of fun way to use those little floral tiles. So I just do a bead of hot glue on one of the little pieces of craft wood and put the two pieces together like that, nice and sturdy. And then we can decorate this. I thought this would be the perfect background because it's giving me like that soft green leaf background. And it is the perfect size here. All I have to do is kind of lay my sign here on the back of it, use an ink pen, and I can kind of just draw exactly where I need to cut. Easy peasy, and cover the back of it. No painting or anything like that involved. And it gave me a really nice, leaf background, which I was kind of trying to do a lot of leaf projects and pink flower projects. So I thought the pink flowers would look really cute on there. So we're just going to peel and stick this wallpaper to the sign, kind of lining it up, and it fit on there just perfectly. I do use my little finger sander here to get any tiny little slivers that might be, but I got it on there actually pretty good. I'm also going to use my sandpaper to rough it up. I do want it to look a little older and distressed and a little less perfect. Now, I'm going to attach a hanger to this, but I'm not sure. I think I actually might use this as a leaning sign, but I always save these little hangers off the Dollar Tree signs that I use all the time in case I need them when I don't use them on the DIY I'm making. So I just saved one, and I'm just going to screw that hanger to the back of it if I choose to hang it. And as you can see, the pink floral tile is just about the same size. So I'm definitely going to have to cut that down a little bit. It's got like this great cage on the back. So I thought I would take advantage of that. Each row has flowers attached to it. So I'm kind of trying to map out like the center and then do the top. I wanted to do the monogram for our last name, which is a T. So that's going to be pretty easy. Just trying to make sure exactly how this was set up. And I try to do 3 rows of each. Then I'm just going to carefully snip the cage from the back, trying to make sure that I don't cut any of the flowers to cut my shape down. Now, my lighter ended up being a little bit chunkier than I wanted, so I do cut it down a little bit more, but this is kind of initially where I started. I was trying to think of things I could do with this. I've used these kind of as backgrounds before, but I've never really kind of customized them like this, and I thought this would be fun. There is like an extra row there at the bottom that you saw that I cut off. That's not really attached to anything, so I just cut that off to kind of get it out of the way. And then we're going to cut the other side of the T down that I had just kind of marked out with a Sharpie. And I'm going to go ahead and cut my extra row of plastic off. That's not really attached to anything. They have that on all the sides, just to kind of make sure you can't see that from the front. That's when I was like, it's a little chunkier than I want, so let's make it actually like a 2 row instead of a 3 row letter. So I just cut 1 row off, and then I'm going to cut 1 row off the top as well. And I also need to kind of cut 1 row off to even it out here, so everything lines up. Now, T is a pretty easy letter. I'm thinking like L. There's some letters that are definitely going to be easier than others to cut out with these floral tiles. But you can always do flowers and kind of do your own letter too. But I thought this would be a quick, easy way to do it since they're all attached together, right? So I want to display it that with like the leaves on the background like that. I thought that the green was a little bit brighter than I wanted though. And so I thought I would just go ahead and distress it a little bit more to scratch it up. You could also, distress with paint if you wanted. This is a quick, easy way to kind of scratch it up, kind of bring more of the white from the back through some of the leaves, and just make sure I clean up any of the dust from the paper, and just wanted a little bit of a softer background there for my little floral monogram. And I liked that effect so much that I wanted to rough it up a little bit more. I had to do it definitely now before I attach my letter. It'll be too late. And again, you could kind of distress it with white if you wanted yours to be a little bit. I just wanted it not to compete with my flower letter as much. I wanted my floral monogram to be able to stand out a little bit. So I'm just going to add hot glue to the back of the cage on the floral tile, kind of everywhere I could, and line that up and just stick that to my sign. Really fun idea for a little spring sign using those floral tiles from the dollar spot. And I think that turned out really cute. Now, depending on what your monogram is going to kind of depend on how hard your letter is to cut out. But I think you could do it too with like some Dollar Tree flowers. Maybe take some cardstock or something, cut out your letter, cover it with flower petals like that, and you would get a very similar effect to the floral tiles. I'm not sure if Target is bringing these back this year. My Target is in disarray, but this is how this turned out. For the next DIY, I'm going to use an old calendar and make a fun spring DIY with this wood slice that I actually got at Goodwill. It looks like somebody did some wood engraving on it. I got this for half price, so I got a really good deal on it. It did have some initials here on the back of it. So I'm just going to go ahead and paint the wood slice white to give me a good background for my calendar page and to cover up the writing that was on there on the back. So I just added a little spackle over that as well because it was almost carved in there a little bit. So that will be a nice flat surface. And this is the calendar page that I'm going to use. It's got a little blue bicycle on there for spring. I think it's going to be perfect. It's just about the right size for this. I just went ahead and sketched out the size of the wood slice on here and cut out my bicycle. I love this. And I have a blue cruiser bicycle like this, so it really reminds me of my bicycle as well, which is really fun. A fun beach cruiser. I just cut this down to size. It doesn't have to be perfect. I did want to go ahead and finish painting this white so that I wouldn't be able to see any of that wood coming through on my calendar page because those Dollar Tree calendars, the paper on them is pretty thin. So I went ahead and did a consistent white coat. And then I'm going to go ahead and attach a hanger here on the back so that I can hang this on the wall. I'm just going to do a sawtooth hanger that I can easily hammer into the back of this wood slice. And then I'm going to attach the calendar page with some Mod Podge. I'm not sure how many stores sell the wood slices like this. I think Walmart might have them. I think I've seen them before. But I love the look of them for a DIY like this. They turned out really pretty. I put mine on here. I was trying to avoid any bubbling, so I was trying to flatten that out with my brayer a little bit. I also went over the top of it with more Mod Podge, and I was able to get it on there pretty flat with very little bubbling. And then I wanted a fun spring flower, so I'm going to use some spring plaids, some burlaps here as well, and the ribbons. And we're just going to make a really quick little expo here for the bottom. Nothing crazy. I thought a little burlap would be fun adding to this as well. So I used some of their burlap ribbon and also X'd that as well. I think that looks pretty cute. And we can also add some florals to this as well, just to bring a little 3D aspect to the decorating of it. As you can see, my calendar page didn't go all the way to the bottom. It was a little bit longer down here. So I'll actually use that bow here at the bottom to decorate the bottom of the sign, but also to disguise that part. Now my bow is a little bit long. I kind of did that on purpose so I could cut it down to size exactly how long I wanted it. And then I just went in and trimmed everything up here. I love the little basket of flowers. And I love creating things with the calendar pages from the Dollar Tree. I always try to have some of those on hand. Now for the flowers, I'm using these little tiny pink flowers I found at the Dollar Tree. They were just called wildflowers. They reminded me of the pink flowers in the basket. So I went ahead and took some of them apart and added them here, peeking out of the bow at the bottom. Just to add a little bit of fun and more decor to that bow. And this was such an easy DIY to make. I was so glad that I was able to find that wood slice at Goodwill. I think I got it for half off as well, so I got a really good deal on it. Now to kind of break it up a little bit, I always love to distress everything. I went over the calendar page with a little bit of ivory and distressed it to give it a little bit of a chippy look. So when you're in the thrift store, be sure to check for things like this, like the wood slice sign. So easy to make a little custom sign for spring, just using an old calendar. This was an older calendar back when they were only $1. I think they're $2 now, but they can be a great source for crafting materials for things like this. Now, the next DIY, I picked up a couple of these. I got like the shovel and the rake, and I thought we could DIY those into a fun little wall hanging. I think they had like 3 different things. I can't remember what the other one was. Maybe like a different kind of rake? Not sure. I thought they were too busy though, so we're going to pop off these cute little things that are on there, and I will definitely save those for another project. There was the sunflower, the ladybug, the bee, the flower. Now I'm also going to pop off the words. The little bugs and stuff were super easy to pop off. I'm just using a Cricut tool and my heat gun, but the words were on there. So I don't think they'll be reusable, but I got to a point where I was just trying to get them off. And that gives me a nice blank canvas to work with. I want these to be colorful, but I want them to be simple. I don't want all of this extra decor on there. And all of these are going to be great for future projects. I am planning some bee projects. This is the one I kind of really destroyed. And I was like, I'm not going to use this again. Okay. So I'm just going to use heat to try to clean that up. I want to try to get off any glue residue that's on there. And then I thought we could repaint these to kind of go with our color scheme today and kind of hang them together in a cute little spring wall hanging. So I just use a combination of heat and sandpaper just to clean those up a little bit. This one wasn't as bad. I didn't really have as much glue residue left on that one. Now it's just time to paint them. I thought I would make this one that salmon color just because the other one was blue and I thought that'd be really easy to make blue again. So it is going to require a couple coats of the salmon color because I'm trying to mask over that green color that was on there before. And I'm just going to paint the shovel part this salmon color, and then I'll go back and paint the handles a different color. Now for the rake, we're going to do that aqua color. So I'm mixing turquoise and ivory together to give me that same light shade that we used on the watering can sign. And that one was easier to paint blue to blue, so it only required 1 coat. Now I thought about leaving like the natural wood on the handles, but I haven't really used any natural wood in my DIYs today. So I'm just going to use ivory because I've used that a lot more. And distressing the wood with the ivory acrylic, also distressing the shovel part, just to kind of give it that distressed look. And if some of the wood on the handle shows through, I'm totally fine with that. It just makes it look a little distressed. We're going to do the same exact thing over here on the little rake by distressing the handle ivory and then distressing the other with the ivory too. Super cute. I love how simple they look compared to how they looked before. And then I was trying to decide which one I wanted on top. I kind of like the shovel better on top. And so I'm just going to go ahead and attach them together with a little hot glue up here, down here, the 2 contact spots to kind of hang them together. And you could get all 3, but I thought 2 was definitely enough for this project, so I only picked up 2. Now I kind of wanted them to look like they are tied together. So I'm going to use some of this wired burlap ribbon from the Dollar Tree. And instead of actually tying them together, I'm just going to wrap it around first. And then we'll make a bow and add on there. Easier than trying to tie this wired ribbon. So I'm just going to hot glue that on. And you're kind of working at a weird angle. Just kind of do your best. And I'm going to glue that down. And you don't have to worry about your hot glue showing or anything like that. We're going to have that all covered up with a bow that we're going to make out of that same burlap ribbon. So this is really easy because the fabric is the same on both sides. So I'm just going to pinch, make 2 loops, right? 1 on each side. Try to keep them equal distance. And then cut a second tail. Then using a zip tie, we're just going to cinch it together. Easy peasy, just trying to keep my loops the same size before I tighten it too much. And then pull my tails down. Trimming off the excess zip tie. And we can attach that to our little burlap that we put up there to make them look like they're tied together. And I'm just going to glue that down with some hot glue. Now, to kind of make that bow look a little bit prettier, I am going to dovetail the ends. Just making sure that is secure and not going to go anywhere. You can see the zip tie in the middle, so I will put something there decorative to kind of cover that up. But I'm just going to fold these and then dovetail them about the same length. Now, I was trying to decide if I should put like a flower. I thought about these foam roses from Valentine's Day, but then I ended up going with one of the little solo wood roses from the Crafter Square at Dollar Tree. I thought that'd be really cute on there, and it's kind of the perfect size. I was trying to decide, should I paint it? Should I not? I decided not. I like the natural wood. So I'm just going to glue that on there. I don't want that falling off, so the glue, I kind of had to use a lot and kind of really get it in there, kind of pushing down. I added a little glue to the top to make sure that it wasn't going to go anywhere. Now, I probably should have done the hanger for this before I got to this point, but I got to this point and I'm like, I need some way to hang this. This would be cute, though, if you wanted to sit it on your table as well, lean it up against something. But I'm going to make mine hanging by taking some twine, just doing a little knot that I can attach to the back of this sign, I guess. And I'm going to staple it on there. I have the wood like doubled up, and I have the bow there, so you won't be able to see the staple if it does go through. I'm just going to staple above the knot, and I always miss the first try. I don't know about you guys. And we have our little shovel and rake wall hanging. I thought about adding some words to it, but I really love just the soft spring colors of this, and I kind of like the simplicity. It's kind of a different version of the one I did with the actual tools, and I made the wreath with it, but also really fun if you can find any like little spring signs like this. My spring section at my Dollar Tree this year leaves a lot to be desired. I don't know what they're doing there, but they better stop it and they better start bringing us some better things to craft with. Okay, our next bird DIY, we're going to use one of these embossed little bird signs from the spring section at the Dollar Tree, and then one of these little Dollar Tree wood signs that's framed a little circle. They are super cute. And then some of this burlap. Now, I have covered one of these metal signs before with burlap, but I use like the burlap bags with the plastic backing on them, and it worked really well. So I wasn't totally sure if this was going to work using like real burlap like this, but I decided to go for it, and it did work. It does take a little bit of time to dry, but you do get to see the details in it once it's dry. So I'm just going to cut a piece of the white burlap out that's going to be large enough. You want to go larger. And then what I'm going to do is just glue that to our bird first and then cut it down to size. So I'm going to go all over with a nice thick coat of Mod Podge that will kind of seep through this. And it's always a little hard to get the burlap down at first. So I always kind of like hold it down and then go over the top of it with more Mod Podge. I'm using like a foam Dollar Tree brush. So I'm kind of like sponging that down in it, making sure that I get all of the burlap glued down wherever there is metal bird and completely down in all of the different textures on there. So I got that glued down and I got it dried. So now I'm just using my scissors to cut down the burlap. Just trying to cut as close as I can without really showing any of the metal. And we're going to have a little white burlap bird. I loved my first burlap bird so much, it kind of inspired me to make another one. And so this is another kind of version of a burlap bird for sure. And I wanted to do white because I'm going on that wood sign. I didn't want to do the brown burlap because it would kind of, all match together. Wasn't super square flat, but it's okay because it's not going to need to be that way to glue it to the frame because the beak and the tail are both going to actually glue to the frame. And so I think it's going to be fine. I'm going to go ahead and hot glue that down right in the middle and both ends of our little bird. And that's what it looks like so far. I wanted to glue it down before we decorated it any further. Now, I'm going to use an orange Sharpie again for the beak and just kind of sketch that on there, providing a little bit of color. I love to use Sharpies on burlap. It works great and you don't have to worry about the bleeding from a paint pen. I'm going to do the same thing for the little bird eye. I could kind of feel where it was, just doing a little black circle there. Now I'm going to use those same burlap leaves that we used on the first burlap bird. They worked so well, so I thought we could try to use them on this kind of bigger version of a bird as well. And I'm going to kind of alternate like colors like that, kind of using some of the bigger size ones because there's like 2 sizes of the burlap leaves. But I love these. Only one of my Dollar Trees seems to have these so far, but hopefully everybody gets them in because they're so cute. Then I'm going to use a very light blue Sharpie. I love Sharpies. I'm always hoarding all the colors I can find and just going around that border all the way around the bird to kind of sketch it out, give a little bit of blue color to this and kind of bring out the outline of the bird. I also go in and just kind of outline the little burlap feathers to kind of go with the theme. I do the white ones and then I go back and end up doing the brown ones too. Now when it dried, you could kind of see it has a bigger wing. You could outline that too, and I might go back and do it now that I see it a little bit better. I thought we can make the hanger look a little bit better than the raw wood beads. And I got these with the Easter stuff at Dollar Tree, these colorful painted wood beads. And we're gonna like alternate like the light blue and the tan. I think that's gonna look really cute with this. It's gonna match our little bird. Whenever I do wood beads on a sign, I always like to do like an even number so it's gonna hang right if I use it on a nail. And I just tie a knot back into the hanger and staple that back to the frame on the back. Super cute. Now, the only thing left is I wanted to add a flower. These are the burlap flowers that I was talking about that I found also with the burlap leaves. Look how cute they are. There are 3 of them in a package, and they're not adhesive or anything like that. They're just like already all put together, a cute little burlap flower. I thought it would look good maybe right here at the bottom of my sign, just to bring a little flower, a little spring touch in. And so I'm just going to glue that to the frame. And that's all there is to this bird DIY. I think it turned out really cute. What do you guys think about this little burlap bird? I do have a little touch of my bluebird in there, but I do really enjoy that ivory color of burlap on there. I think it's really pretty. And I'm pretty sure almost all of the stores have clearanced off the little metal birds, but in case you still have one in your stash, or if your store still has some of my stores have stuff that were discontinued a long time ago, but they did clearance these off, so I think they might have had to get rid of them. But I think it was a really fun DIY, and those little metal things like that can be a little tricky. Okay, next DIY. I want to DIY one of these little wood rounds from the Dollar Tree, again with some of those beautiful pink floral stickers from the Dollar Tree. So I'm just going to go ahead and remove my hanger. And I want to frame it out too. So I'm going to be framing it out with some of those cube wood beads from the Dollar Tree. I think these are so cool. And since they lay flat, they do a great job of like framing out projects like that from the Dollar Tree. So this is the color I'm going to use of acrylic paint. It's called Pink Polish. And as you can tell, I'm not going for maximum coverage on this. I actually just kind of want to stain it. So I'm not going to use too much paint, just enough to kind of give me a pink stain. After I put that on there, I just go over it with a wet baby wipe. And that way the wood grain of that sign shows through. So I'm not really covering that up. And it makes it look a little bit more older and vintage, which is definitely what I was going for on this project. I wanted to do a really pretty spring floral sign. So I just stained it, gave it a quick dry. It was a little bit rough, so I gave it a little bit of a sand to get some of that fuzziness off the wood. And then this is the flower sticker we're going to use. This is a very soft pink, which is one reason why I chose to stain the sign like kind of a little bit more of a candy pink, because I want it to be a little bit of a contrast. but definitely go with my pink floral theme that we've been using today. So I kind of like it going straight up and down like that. It's going to fit nicely. I'm going to carefully pull this off. I don't want to rip any of it. And peel and stick this to my sign. If you're going to stain or paint your sign, make sure it's good and dry. Otherwise, it's not going to stick very well. I just go ahead and flatten that out. As you can see, I kind of centered it on the wood ring, but then I'm going to leave like the wood cubes natural color like that. I thought that'd be a nice contrast against the soft pink shades. But I do want to make sure that it stays down. So I'm just going to sand it a little bit just to rough up again the sticker. I kind of like that distressed look. These don't sand as well as the other ones. They kind of do like a dotted aging, but it's still kind of made it look old. But I do want to seal this project because I wasn't certain this was going to stay on there really well. So I just went over the top of all of it with some Mod Podge from the Dollar Tree and sealed this sign before we go in and frame it out with the wood beads. And then I thought it needed even a little bit more distressing, so then I just went in with just some white and like a chunky brush, and if I distressed a little bit too much on it, I would just go over it with a baby wipe, kind of blending it all together. Again, I was going very kind of like old school, like Victorian vibes with this spring DIY, so I definitely wanted it to look vintage. So I just keep kind of distressing. I kind of tried to distress it similar to the way the sticker distressed as well until I got the perfect level of distress. And then I'm going to add the wood bead garland to the front of it. Now they kind of wind this around so it doesn't fall off, but that also keeps the wood beads from moving side to side and it kind of makes it get in the way. I'm also going to reattach the hanger, but this time I'm going to go from the back to the front, tie a knot, cut off the little plastic part. That way it's going to hang flatter against my wall, and it's not really going to be able to see the little hangers there on the front too much, just a small knot. So I do need to untangle this end to kind of make this work, and it's a little bit better to do this at the beginning so that all of your wood cubes are free flowing. You just kind of have to string that out, and I'm gonna need two to go around this entire wood round because even though these are super cute from the Dollar Tree, they're not super long. And I just go ahead and open at least one end of this one. I probably don't need the other end. And we can start gluing this on. What this is going to do is take this flat sign and make it so much chunkier. And it's just a really easy way to kind of provide a frame for an abnormal shape like this. Like something I'm definitely not going to be able to have a frame for. And I like the added depth. It really helps. So I'm just kind of doing like a quarter at a time and gluing all of my wood beads to it, but leaving them strung together because that's going to kind of help guide it, keep them all attached to each other. But I am trying to glue down every single one, just trying to make sure that I don't overlap the edges too much so I still get that perfect like circular shape. And this is about how far one package will go. So I'm just going to tie the twine to my next package. And I can just push my wood beads up that and continue going with the same pattern all the way around. And I do like the contrast of the natural wood. I'm going to be adding another accent that color too that kind of ties it all together. And I'm glad that I decided not to paint or stain this part of it because I think it turned out really cool. And actually fit perfectly here at the end. You never really know with spacing. And so I just glued that, tied both my strings together, making sure all the wood beads are then tied together. Now this is what I'm going to use to finish it off. This is a vase filler that I found at Target. It's back where the driftwood was at Target. And I have bad news about the driftwood. At least at my Target, they quit carrying it. I have no idea why. It was one of my favorite products in the vase fillers. But these little paper flowers are kind of cool. They're kind of like a paper, kind of like foamy feel. Not really sure what these are made out of, but I chose like a larger one and two small ones, and they're like the same color as the unfinished wood on the frame, so I thought this would tie it in nicely and give another little floral touch and kind of a larger, more substantial piece as well to make it thicker. So I'm just going to start here with the larger flower, gluing that down, and then glue a smaller flower on each side, just kind of making it kind of over here on the bottom right to kind of give it kind of a wreath feel there as well. And this is how it turned out. I think it's really sweet and romantic looking. Our little pink floral wall hanging for spring. Definitely kind of a different look, but I love it. I love like the unfinished look of the wood beads around the frame of it. And then the paper flowers there takes it a different, like kind of romantic vibe as well. So a fun way to turn a Dollar Tree wood round and one of the wall stickers into some art. Now for the next DIY, I wanted to do a spring candle. I picked up a light blue candlestick from the Dollar Tree and one of these battery operated spring candles. It's so pretty. Look at that. It's got ferns and flowers all over. Originally, I was going to add some small pink flowers, but there is no pink at all on that candle. So I switched it up with white, and I want to decorate the candlestick. Now, those little tiny white flowers from the Dollar Tree don't have a center when you take them off. And so what I wanted to do was to make some blue centers for the flowers using some of the little beaded stickers from the Dollar Tree. They are very shiny though, so I tried to tone mine down with a little bit of matte Mod Podge first before I started attaching them to my white flowers. I do go back and distress them later because they were still just a little too bright and shiny for me, but I love the soft blue color. I thought I could decorate the front and the sides of this. I want to do flowers and greenery on this, very similar to the candle itself. And since it's a battery operated candle, I can really kind of add as much stuff to this as I want. You don't have to worry about anything being flammable. I just take the little white flower and attach it and then glue on my little beaded sticker right in the center, just using hot glue here for everything. I want to stagger the flowers a little bit. I end up using like an odd number on the left side to make it a little bit less symmetrical. But to start with, I did 2 towards the bottom, 2 kind of up towards the top a little bit, and scattering these around. I thought this would be a fun way to bring a little spring decor to the candlestick itself. Since the candle is really beautiful, but it is a battery operated candle, so besides the print on there, I wanted a little bit more fun for this one. So 2 more of these. You could also use the little paper flowers that are real tiny like this. That could work as well to decorate your candlestick. And a couple more here of the blue centers to our additional flowers. Now, I think that's really pretty. I love the soft blue and white together. I think it looks really pretty with that candle holder. I thought, though, that it needed a little greenery, too. There's a lot of greenery on that candle. So I'm going to use one of these little fern-like plants from the Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to use one. And I want it to go around the candlestick like this, having the flowers peek out from beneath. So I just attach it with a little hot glue to my candlestick, and making sure the flowers are more on top, I'm going to wrap this around here to the back, cutting off the stem and gluing it down. I'm really glad I did that. Just the flowers themselves looked a little bit cheap, and I didn't want that. I wanted it to look more beautiful. I did remove the one flower there on the left to make it a little bit less symmetrical, and I think that's going to work. I did try to tone down the shininess of those little stickers again. I used a paint pen and a coordinating color, thinking that might tone it down a little bit. I did have to go in and distress them a little bit too with a little bit of white paint. I would put some on there, wipe off the excess with a baby wipe, just giving it like almost a whitewashing to tone down that shininess, because these things were so shiny and I didn't want that to take away from the flowers. I think this looks really soft and really cute. So then you just have to pop your candle on there. Isn't that candle so pretty? I always love doing different seasonal candles, and spring is no exception. If you find a little battery operated candle like this, definitely jump on it. I guess you could customize a real candle too, but you would need quite a few flowers to add to the sides to them, some kind of a decal or something. But this is a great safe way because it's a battery operated candle. So I'm going to light mine up. We added the fun floral touches to the candlestick as well, which is super whimsical. This candle is so pretty. I love these. I mean, even though I really love like real candles, every now and then I love a good battery operated candle from the Dollar Tree, especially when they make them pretty. And I love the blue color on this. That definitely goes with my style.
Okay, let's keep crafting. Look at these beautiful rub-on transfers that I found at the Crafter Square at the Dollar Tree. I thought we could decorate one of these galvanized metal tulips with those, because sometimes these things can be a little hard to decorate. I also found a great thrift flip sign that we're going to get used there from the Goodwill. And I really like that bluish green color. I thought it looked really coastal. And it almost kind of has a sunshine pattern on it. It's got like a great hanger on the back. I like to pick these up at half price days at my Goodwill store. So this was like $1.50. But you can use whatever you've got. I just really dig in the color on that. I thought that would look really pretty for spring. Now it does have like a little clip on it to like hang something. Don't need that on there. So just removing that, the screw on that with a screwdriver. I also wanted to distress it just a little bit, kind of clean it up, but to kind of make it look more coastal. And my little tulip fits perfectly on there. Now this design is so pretty for spring. Look, it's got all the words on there, the flowers, butterflies, bicycles. So cute. And I thought this would be perfect to decorate this. So I'm just kind of cutting it down to size. And I'm just going to peel off the back and stick it to the galvanized metal tulip. Then I'm just going to rub it on. I started with just a scraper, just a little scraper like from the Crafter Square at Dollar Tree, and scrape that on, and look how beautiful that is. What a great way to decorate the galvanized metal pieces from the Dollar Tree. And oh, I think it looks so pretty for spring. So I'm just going to go ahead and attach that with hot glue. I know that they say you shouldn't hot glue the metal pieces, but I usually don't have any problems as long as I work quickly with my high temp hot glue gun. And I'm totally digging it. I think that looks really cute. I did want to kind of distress that background a little bit more. I kind of should have done that before I like glued the tulip down, but that's okay. I'm doing it now. And that's all there is to it. I think this is so pretty for spring. What do you guys think about this little tulip?
Another fun way to use one of those metal shapes if you have a flower in your stash. And I always love to try to check out the thrift stores. I usually only buy stuff when it's half off. I really cleaned up the other day at Salvation Army on President's Day. I got lots of great wood signs for half off. Now it's time for the final reveal. I really hope you enjoyed these 20 spring Dollar Tree DIYs. Let me know which one was your favorite down in the comments below. This is my QR code if you would like to buy me a coffee. And you can find me at Crafty Beach on YouTube on all social media. Enjoy!
Just close your eyes and let them rest. I know it's hard to fall asleep, but do your best. 'Cause there's a place that I go to when I wanna hide from all the shades of blue. 'Cause at times I think of leaving, my mind takes me back to fall, when the snow begins to sing at night too warm. But I will never leave your side. You're the reason to my pride never wither and runs dry, and your roses are my guides. Goodbye, my friend, our love remains, but not this way. I'm in your garden as a day. You see the lilies dance and how they slowly grow. I'm counting years as they go by. Now all the lilies gone and days is brought to life. 'Cause at times I think of leaving, my mind takes me back to fall, when the snow begins to sing goodnight to all. But I will never leave your side. You're the reason to all my pride. Never wither and runs dry. And your roses are my guides. Goodbye, my friend. Our love remains, but not this way. I'm in your garden as a tale. But I will never leave your side. You're the reason to all my pride. Never wither and runs dry. And your roses are my guides. Goodbye, my friend. Our love remains, but not this way. I'm in your garden as a tale. I know you'll meet me here one day. In a world of green, just like a dream, you and I standing wild and free, with petals so golden, the sun's warm kiss, a love so strong, a bliss. Whispers of the breeze, secrets unfold. It's you that I need, it's you that I want. When the world gets cold, it's you and me. When the sun comes back, you'll see. Oh, dandelion, the strength that you've shown, stronger each year. Look how we hold on through the toughest of times. We still stand strong. Through pavement we will grow. Forever we will grow. Deep within your eyes, I found a home. The love that we share can never grow. In your gaze, the world looks bright, forever by your side. This town is quiet, serene and wide. You keep me warm and safe at night. No matter the season, we always.
Thank you so much for making it to the end of today's video. I'd also like to give a huge thank you to my YouTube members for supporting my channel. Thank you so much to Jamie Job, Janae Farrington, Amelia Wren, Donna Schreiner, Maren Christensen, Adrian Brolt, Debbie Middleton, Red Mama, Powell Puppy Life, Renee Albanese, Jenny, Debbie Austin, and Lizette Thomas. Thank you so much for supporting my channel. I really appreciate it. If you join, you're going to get early ad-free access to my content here on YouTube. Okay, would you like more spring crafting inspiration? Be sure to check out one of these DIY videos right here. And until next time, happy crafting for spring.